anxious to step through the gate again, Major?
Yes, I am.
We all are.
Would you like us to bring back anything special?
No thanks.
Groceries, new outfit, flatware?
No, just yourselves in one piece, please. Dial it up. Be safe.
Welcome to the Jumping Puddles podcast. Be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube. And follow us at Jumping Puddles Podcast on Tumblr and Instagram, and Jumping Pudpod on Twitter. And if you want to support our podcast, please check out our coffee. Hi, I'm Sam, and with me are my fellow co-hosts, Tor and Ash. And today we have another special guest star, Stargate Universe lesbian, aka Ty.
Woo!
Hi, so happy to be back.
We're so happy to have you back.
Yay! And today we are, of course, recording a special episode, a bonusode, if you will, for the one, the only, Vala Doran.
Yeah! Woo!
Best girl Vala. And we are finally talking about her in depth, just like we've always wanted. I think it's no secret that all of us are like big Vala lovers. No controversies here. There's no like surprise. Like, no, I hate Vala. No. We love Vala. So if you do not love Vala, I'm so sorry. This is not the episode for you. Come back next week.
Or maybe stick around and learn why we love her. Be indoctrinated.
So
love her as well.
Come join the Vala cult.
Yes,
it's
please.
great. We have snacks.
Good edits.
True.
My first edit was a Vala edit, I think.
It was for my birthday.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Special. Guys, how do we just like launch straight into like character analysis?
So Vala is the character, and now we will analyze her.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of interesting how she's just introduced. Like, we don't know that she's gonna become a recurring character, and so that's kind of unique, I guess.
That is very true.
She definitely marks like a shift between sort of old Stargate, where there's like the Goa'uld, and then new Stargate, where, you know, SG-1 is sort of has fallen apart a little bit, and they have to like regroup because of the Ori, and then obviously the role that she plays with the Ori. So I feel like Vala, and like Cam to an extent, but this episode is about Vala, so we're going to talk about her. She's like, you know, the sort of like linchpin for this Stargate like shift.
That is so true. And I just love, I mean, can't get a more perfect like character introduction and character episode, I think, than Prometheus Unbound. Like, it's kind of like god tier, not even just Vala episode or like Daniel episode, but like god tier Stargate episode. Like, everything about that episode is so perfect, and I just can't help but remember that I guess behind the scenes, Michael Shanks was so pleased with Claudia Black, because like I think one of the first things she said to him was like, tell me like what do you want your character to like go through in this episode, or like what do you want like Vala to like uncover for or like explore for the Daniel character. And he was just like, that's so great of you to ask, thank you. And he's a bottom. No.
Sorry, we're going right into it. This is what happens when you have me on.
We will hit up the Vala Femdom later. Yeah, and so I just think that's like the perfect like introduction, and just like such a perfect way to like show her as a character, and also like it really does show a new side of Daniel. Daniel is so out of his element in that entire episode. He's so fucking confused. And the important part here, which we will talk about later too, is he is so fucking horny. He is so into it. Like that's the part that like other episodes like miss, to be honest, is that Daniel is so into it. Like he's confused, but he's kissing her.
He's into it. He's like, hot fucking damn. But you know what? If Claudia Black was beating the shit out of me, I would also be confused, but very horny. So
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that introduction is just so good. Like when she takes off her helmet, which is, by the way, an amazing callback to Farscape as well. It's just really good.
yeah. I was looking back at all of my Vala tweets, and my very first tweet about her was on February 20th, 2021, and I tweeted, Vala Doran and Daniel Jackson is a lesbian relationship. No, I will not be explaining. My very first tweet about her, and that is, and then the next tweet about her that I tweeted 3 days later was, Vala absolutely pegs Daniel. So I was on a roll. I saw Prometheus Unbound and I was like, hot fucking damn. Okay. I know what this is.
You were locked in. I was locked in. You clocked that shit from the first episode.
Yeah. No, but it really is a great episode because it shows like that, like she's, sort of this like mercenary thief kind of, and she's willing to like lie and like kind of use like a pretty like big lie of like, oh, my people are refugees. Like I really need this ship. Like, that's a pretty like enormous thing to lie about. She's like okay being like a bad person for her own self-interest. And what's interesting is that Daniel's like, false, incorrect, you are lying. He like sees through her bullshit like all the time, which is, this like such interesting dynamic where she's trying to pull shit and he's like, stop. I'm not going to get it dragged into this, except he does every single time he gets dragged into it. In Prometheus Unbound, he tries to make the sale of Naquita and like that, goes wrong. And then there's like the bracelets that he's locked in. And then there's the aura. Like he just always gets dragged into her shit, even though he like knows that it's going to end poorly. But he's just along for the ride. And Vala, he's the one who's driving the car, I guess, or flying Prometheus in this case.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and I think it's so interesting kind of how she starts off as like this very sort of like I don't want to say brutal, but I guess you can say like brutal, more like classic sort of like mercenary type, right? Where like she's like lying, she uses like her feminine wiles and like just her Claudia Black sexiness to like get what she wants, and she's like doing all these things. But then it's so interesting when we hit season 9, I think she does retain that like element to her still for like those first 6 episodes, but then she disappears for a while, and then she pops up in the finale, and then season 10, it's almost like that part of her is just like completely like the mercenary part of her, or like the one that was like very outwardly like sexy and was outwardly like trying to like emulate that is almost not completely, but it's almost like chipped away a little, right? And I don't know if it's she becomes like very cute in season 10, which again I don't mind necessarily. I just think it's interesting that I think this character progression happened off screen, and I do think there's an in-canon explanation, though. I'm not like too upset about it, because you can say, well, she's been stuck in the Aura Galaxy for how many months. She obviously like had to sort of tone down certain aspects of her. But I do think it's just really interesting that she kind of doesn't really get like a full like redemption, or she doesn't get fully accepted until she's been sort of like cutified, I guess, if that's not a word, but a little bit like softer. It's not the Vala we met in season 8. It's like a way softer version.
Yeah, I think they do touch on that on I think it's episode 3 of season 9, Ties That Bind, where so like they've gotten the bracelets off, but they're still feeling the effects of it. And Vala is in Daniel's bedroom, and she's like, "Oh, we might as well have sex. Like we can't really do anything else." And Daniel was like, no, look, I know what you're doing. You're using sex as like a defense, kind of. And she goes into like, well, yeah, I'm fucking traumatized because like I was, taken over by a ghoul and tortured and everything. And then I had to like resort to being like, this thief. And then what I think is kind of interesting is that Daniel, I think he is under the assumption that Vala is lying like all the time, which is how he's sometimes correct about it and he sees through her shit. But at that point, he does kind of say like, are you lying to me? And she just kind of shrugs and like walks out of the room. And I don't think at that moment that she was lying. I think that she was, being very real about like, she had her bodily autonomy like violated by being Kitesh's host and then was tortured, during the rebellion. And then eventually like the Tok'ra like saved her. And like, it makes sense that she would sort of like use her body as a defense sort of mechanism, as like an armor to like try to shield herself. And so I feel like in season 10, she's like, she goes through more shit and there is more like bodily autonomy violation in terms of her being pregnant with the Orosai and that kind of stuff. But she becomes like part of SG-1. Like she has a home kind of finally. And so I feel like that kind of can explain why she suddenly is sort of like less sexual. It's because that super like femme fatale part of her was like I don't want anyone to get close to me, so I'm just going to be like super sexual. And so like she is able to sort of drop that and be like, I'm with people that I'm friends with, that I feel safe with, all of that. But I don't know, like, what do you guys think?
I was thinking something similar. But I was thinking something else, that in season 10, she's finally, like, she reminded me a little bit of Rodney for a second, who finds, like, his family in Atlantis and then, like, has a little bit of a character switch. And it's maybe similar for her, that, like, she finds her people, her family, people who accept her. And she then, I don't know, can show another part of herself, or, like, be a little bit, I don't know. But also I couldn't help but think that she's kind of like, what was the like behind the scenes reason why she was like kind of mellowed out a little bit? Yeah. Was it because like to make her more palatable to like the audience, or did the writer not really know how to handle her? It's also just nice to think that like, yeah, she felt like that she with SG-1 and like finally like it takes her so, they make it so hard for her to like be accepted for in a team. Like it's really mean at times. They hold out on her for so long until she finally gets like the patch. It's really mean. But she gets that, and she like finds her people with SG-1, and that she doesn't have like to be like in this defensive mode all the time, or in this like that she can just like drop some of her like defense mechanisms maybe around them.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe like they were like, we maybe made this character a little too risque and we gotta like pull it back a little bit. But I mean, I am not super into knowing what behind the scenes info stuff is, so I'm kind of like, I don't really care. Like, I'm just like in the show. What is the explanation for?
I think
for
that's
this
smart.
kind of character. Yeah,
especially with Stargate, that's smart.
I think sometimes that can save your sanity.
For sure. And like, a part of me does wonder if it was a conscious decision to be more of a departure from Eren in Farscape, because I feel like there are similarities in a way, but not entirely. But I much prefer is it Watsonian? The Watsonian idea that it was more of a comfortable space for her, and that's why she dropped sort of I find it did come off as, like, performative when she was doing the femme fatale thing. So, yeah, I can totally believe that that was a play and, like, that was a performance, for sure.
And I think it also, like, limited the interactions she could have with the members of the team, because it was always like, you know, she was always being seductive, kind of like there was no other way for her to interact with them, and for her to really be integrated, she had to be able to interact with them like as, you know, as a friend, as a person, not necessarily someone who has like, you know, a specific goal in mind all the time. And so I think that also plays into it a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually wanted to talk about what Ash mentioned, though. Well, does that count as dynamics? I wanted to talk about Vala and her, like, team and the team relationships. Yeah, how do we feel about that? Because, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of a lot of her interactions. She's actually pretty okay with Teal'c. I think Teal'c, for the most part, like, they don't have that many, like, terrible ones. Like, they're genuine, like, friends, and I appreciate that. It doesn't really seem like he judges her sometimes, but, like, it's very rare, and it's not, like, as mean, per se. Obviously, the three worst, you could say, are Daniel, Cam, and Sam, and I think for me, what makes it really hard to watch is, like, her interactions with Sam, and it feels, like, very unfair, because I'm, like, I'm putting, like, all of my, like, uncomfortableness on Sam, like, I'm targeting her, and, like, it shouldn't be like that way, but I am a little bit, because, like, I just wanted them to obviously, like, have, like, that connection as women, and just, like, that friendship, and there is elements of that friendship throughout, but I just can't get over, like, how, like, it makes me so uncomfortable when all those three, and, like, when Sam especially will, like, go out of her way to, like, make a face, or, like, bully Vala as well, like, join in on the gang. It's so hard to watch. I actually I'm putting together, like, season 10 whatever stuff, and I found a scene I had completely forgot about. It's in the episode Insiders, I think that's what it's called. The Ball episode 10, where Ball, like, infiltrates the SGC with all of his Ball clones. But there's a scene where they are on a Ball ship, or first they're outside, they're on the planet, and Vala basically, like, runs away, and the team's like, what is she doing? Whatever, but she, like, gets the guards to come, and, like, distracts them, so then, like, the team can go, like, on the landing. I forgot what they're fucking called. The beams. So they get beamed up the ship. Yeah. Oh, the rings. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, yeah, the rings. And they get beamed onto the ship, and then Vala passes by Cam and Sam, and she's like, you're welcome. And though they just both turn to each other, and they just give each other the nastiest looks. They're just like, ugh. And they, like, continue on, and I just saw that, and I was like, hey, this is so mean, because she actually really did help you guys. And you guys are being very mean to her.
There is a lot of, like, kind of slut-shaming and, like, dismissing Vala, because, you know, and that is, I think, like, a major issue. Like, as much as I ship Daniel and Vala, I think their interactions are, like, really bad sometimes. Like, it gets kind of upsetting, and it's like, you know, there's some things that I like about the relationship. I already sort of talked about it, but Daniel, again, is one of these characters who really is dismissive of Vala, and, like, he sees her as just this, like, nuisance, as, you know, this, like, looter who has no morals. And what I think is really interesting is that, like, his first wife, right, Share, like, she was a gold host. Like, he lost her to that, right? So I feel like, to an extent, he should have some sort of sympathy for what Vala went through as a gold host. That he should realize that, like, she, you know, probably really suffered because of that. But he's just kind of an asshole to her a lot of the time. And it's like, dude, she's like trying to help you guys. Like, yeah, sometimes she does some things that are not great, but like, come on, like, cut her some slack.
Yeah, that's the thing. She does help them, and she goes through so much shit. Like she went through so much even before she came into the show with the whole Katesh thing and everything. But even like during her time on the show, like this poor woman, already mentioned like the Ori stuff and her being like impregnated by them basically, and like, and she's still trying to help them and to like warn them, and like she's burned once or twice, I forget how many times.
Yeah, that's
Like,
horrific.
Intense, yeah.
That's terrible. That scene, I think I rewatched it like a few months ago, or like I rewatched like a bunch of episodes, and I forgot how graphic it is. Because we literally see her being burned alive, and then
Audio
like,
Black
she's
was
revived.
pregnant, by the way. When she did that.
Fucking hell! I forgot.
Oh my god.
They made her do that while she was pregnant.
Like, obviously she wasn't being burned alive for real, but like the stress of that kind of scene while pregnant, that must have been really hard. Like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
she goes through all these things, and the team, I don't know if it's because like she does things very differently than like the military. She's a very like she's basically like fuck around and find out basically. Like, she
Yeah.
just jumps into the situations. She's very impulsive. I keep thinking of the scene. Oh, is it the quest? Or when she's
Yeah, I
like,
think
when
it's
there's
the
the
quest.
dragon, and she just runs out and starts yelling at the dragon because she thinks she has the code word, but it's not working. And like, I feel like stuff like that happens again and again, and it's different from what like the team usually does. And sometimes it works, and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. Like the scene that you mentioned, Sam, where she actually helped them, like distract the guards and stuff. And the team is very dismissive of her.
Yeah, because I think they view her as just kind of not necessarily stupid, but that she doesn't think things through. But she's coming from a very like particular background. Like Sam and Daniel come from these sort of like academic backgrounds, and then Teal'c is like military. Cam is also military. Like they all have these certain structures, and Vala, like she had to like do what she could to survive. She had to really like trust her instincts as much as possible. She didn't have like a team with her to protect her. So she like reacts to things very differently, and they're very dismissive of her, even when it works and it helps them. And they don't really like give her any grace. Just like, stop that. You guys are mean. I want to like hit them on the head and be like, be fucking nicer to Vala. She's gone through so much. She's my wife. I love her. You're mean to her.
Yeah. You know, going back to Daniel too, you'd think like it's almost like a redemptive thing for him, and he would have seen it as an opportunity to be there for somebody who went through a very similar or multiple similar traumatic experiences as his wife, who passed away tragically before he could actually be an emotional support for her. And then he has an opportunity to like be a supportive person, whether it be romantic or like friendship wise, to Vala, and like he's so cold. You know?
Yeah.
So
I think in the final episode we talked about this, that as the seasons go on, he becomes like more and more jaded. Like at the beginning he's very like nice and open and friendly and everything, and then towards the end of the show he's just very like he's just, you know, like the military structure has gotten to him, and like I think we see that, and also like just his haircut. He starts, you know, carrying a weapon and everything. And so I think that like, part of that is that, you know, we would expect Daniel of, like, the earlier seasons to be so much kinder to Vala, but Daniel of the later seasons, he's, at this point, like, he's so focused on, like, getting to Atlantis, and he's so obsessed with the ancients that he just kind of starts blocking everything out. And I'm not trying to, like, excuse him. Like, I think it was kind of a dumb writing choice. And, like, that impacts Vala. And it's like, but she's trying so hard. Well, you know, and especially once she wants to join the team, she tries so hard to, like, make them like her. And they're just kind of like, you know, get out of here.
Yeah. I think this is not to bring up the behind the scenes, but I think this is definitely a case of where you can just, like, feel, like, the writers, right? Because, you know, we're saying Daniel should have been kinder to her, or even, like, Sam maybe should have been a little kinder to her, or Cam too. I mean, maybe not Cam, he's military, I don't know what his, I mean, Cam, because he's, like, I don't know, he treats women okay, I don't know. Yeah, like, all nice people, like, they should have been treating her better. And I think it's something that, like, as we're breaking it down, I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't, like, coincide with, like, who these characters are as people, or, like, who the show's trying to tell us, like, these are our heroes. It doesn't seem very fucking heroic of them when they're, like, just being so rude and, like, making faces behind her back, or straight up telling her, like, we don't want her here. And so I think it's just something that it's definitely the writers and their sort of misogynistic views and their beliefs just kind of seeping through. We talk a lot about that in Atlantis all the fucking time, actually.
Yeah.
And I just think it's worse in Atlantis. I was gonna say it's a lot worse in Atlantis. And it's not, I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say rarer, but I guess it is, like, not as common in SG1 per se, but I think that kind of just comes out full. It comes out, like, heavy, and it's just, like, in almost every scene with Vala and her interactions with not only, like, the team, but also with, like, her family, who we meet, you know, her daughter and her father. I just think, yeah, the writers and their fucking disgusting ass beliefs just seeped in and kind of not ruined, but they just sort of, they took away, I think, from what could have been, like, the best parts of her relationships with other people, because there's, like, little glimpses of it, but it's just not, like, as fully realized as it could have been.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's, you know, a huge part of fandom is, like, just grabbing onto those good bits and then, like, extrapolating and, like, focusing on that. But we still do have to be aware that, like, in the show, things were not great. So jumping off of what Sam had been saying, like, Vala is really, like, integral to, like, seasons 9 and 10. Like, there's so many plot points that wouldn't have happened if she wasn't there. Whereas, like, Sam, kind of, like, she's important in the team, but I don't know of any plot points that she necessarily launches herself, except, so there was the Tolan arc, and then some of the stuff with, like, the Tok'ra, she was sort of, like, really involved in that. And then the Asgard, obviously, the Asgard, like, technology, she was really in that. But I feel like a lot of the Asgard technology was sort of more, like, implied behind the scenes, and then suddenly we would have this new piece of tech. Whereas Vala was really, like, I think she was in many ways, like, the beating heart of like, the last 2 seasons of Stargate. And it's like, you know, damn, please treat her better than this. You know, maybe this is a controversial take, but I feel like I'm seeing nodding, so I feel like I'm
Say it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah, and I just feel like I feel like not only was she driving the plot forward, but because of her personality, she, like you were saying, is, like, the beating heart of the team. And I feel like if the team was nicer to her, or their emotional connection to her was a little bit stronger, it would be even more emotional and more impactful for her to be driving the plot, because all the characters would care. We'd be more invested, you know?
It is so weird to me to think that the team didn't appreciate her more because of everything not only because of everything she went through, but also the way she kind of bears herself to the team and like becomes more like I feel you can feel that she's like opening herself up to the team, and they just don't appreciate it or see it, and it's so weird.
You're so right
why
about
are they
that.
like that?
I think there's a vulnerability to her, especially in the 10th season, that is so, like, you just wanna be there for her. Like, you, as, like, a viewer, you just feel so much for her. And to see that the characters that you've known and loved over 10 years are not of similar feeling, it's like, what's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah. Part of me wonders if that's maybe why, like, Vala is, like, a sometimes disliked character in the fandom, is because she kind of changes the team dynamic a lot and becomes so important to the plot, and that the team doesn't like her, and so a lot of the fans kind of like reflect that emotion. And it's like, okay guys, think with your brains here. Vala is great. That is an objective fact. You must love her. That's it.
Yes.
I don't understand why
100%.
people don't like her. Like, genuinely, I don't understand, because yes, she changes the team dynamic. Cam also changes, like, the whole dynamic changes when Jack leaves and like new characters come on. That's like that had to be suspected, and like it's not a bad thing. That's always what I'm saying. Like, yes, the last 2 seasons of SG1 are very different from before, but like not in a bad way. Just because like new people come in doesn't mean they are bad. Like, on the contrary, they are really fun. And I think with Vala, we also get we get a new kind of humor into the team and into the show again. That I think, because SG1 is always like the one that's like, it's a little bit more funny, that has silly episodes and like just a little bit more upbeat tone, I think, overall. I think in the last 2 seasons we mainly like have that due to Vala, and I'm very grateful for that.
100%. And I think it's just so frustrating to me when people like complain about her presence, or like complain she like changed the team dynamic, because like okay, the team dynamic had been the same for like years at that point, right? Because obviously Richard Dean Anderson's like slowly and surely by like season 6, 7, and 8 like wasn't on the show anymore, and it was just Teal, Daniel, and Sam. And no offense if you enjoy those seasons, but I did not. Especially 7 and 8, I had a really hard time. I remember when I was like first watching it, just trying to keep up, because I was just like, it was just them 3, and I just feel like, no offense, but I didn't love their dynamic. And then they added Cam, and I was like, okay, like this is better. But I was still like, there's something missing. When after Vala left, I was like, there's something missing in these episodes. Like Cam, I love Cam, don't get me wrong. He brought in a new type of energy that I enjoyed. He brought like a very like beat energy. And I think in season 10, it was just like perfect. Because him and Vala could like riff off each other, and then they could just bring the whole team into like this new sort of like, I want to say funnier, but they can just like make them funnier, like enjoy themselves more. It kind of felt like they lost like that wonder for a few years in between, or like that like joy of like exploring and just like, oh, what are we gonna explore today, or like what are we gonna find today? And then it kind of just all came back, especially in season 10, where it just felt like, for me, it's like the perfect season of SG1. Like, I just, not the perfect, but you know, it's a season that I love and I'll always rewatch, because it just feels so like home, and the characters feel like connected in a way that I just don't think it had been connected for a while.
Yeah. But I think it's really interesting, like your point on the whole like exploration thing and everything, because again, in Ties That Bind, they have to go to like the appropriations committee or something, and the SGC has to like explain why they need like a bigger budget, because the Ori are a huge problem. And the like Polshin dude, whatever government person, I don't know his title or name, I don't really care, the old white guy who was there, he was like, oh, you guys are going to be operating at 30% of your budget because you're cutting all of your exploration. It's now just exploitation of alien weaponry that we've gathered. And then Vala goes up to him and is like, you have a small dick.
Yes.
And it's like,
The most
okay,
iconic
yeah,
scenes.
right? She's there in those tights and that like mini skirt. I'm like, okay, but also like, yes, you know, she's the one who's like, no, this is about exploration, right? That's what Stargate is about. It's about exploration. It's not about weaponizing this alien tech the way that the military wants. And you know, part of the issue with Stargate fundamentally is being a military sci-fi show. So you know, like we can't escape that to an extent. But I do think that that's, you know, one, like, it really crystallizes it that Vala's like, no, this is about exploration. You want us to weaponize alien tech. Well, I think that's small dick energy. So, you know, fuck you.
Yes. Iconic.
Iconic.
Outfit, iconic hair, iconic scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Streak in the season. Oh, I'll never get over it. That little blonde streak in season 9. Iconic. Changed the game.
Original e-girl.
Yes.
You know, like, I love her hair in season 9. I'm like so obsessed with it. I think it looks so good.
So good. I was devastated when she got rid of it in season 10. I was like, why would you do this to me? But I also, just side note, we can cut this out maybe if it's just too random. But I just gotta say too, like, shout out to like the costume and also like hair people, just specifically for Vala.
Yeah.
I feel like they were like, oh, finally, like a fun new character. And they like put themselves to fucking work. All of her hair styles are just like so cute. Like the buns, and like she'll do like ponytail and like yes. Everything is like spot on. And I feel like her outfits are so cute. Like whether she's like, you know, being like the mini skirt. I also feel like outfits in Family Ties, which is, we're gonna talk about that soon, is so cute. She has like a jean jacket and she has like her hair up in pigtails. And she's wearing like blue, and I'm like, they did such
With the
a good
leather.
job. The leather.
Yeah.
You know, we said we'd get back to the Femdom stuff, but like in season 9, her outfits is so much leather, so many straps. She's like wearing a collar, and it's like,
Okay.
And she was pregnant. Can you think about that? She was
God.
Claudia was wearing that pregnant. Like,
Slay.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Claudia Black was also pregnant for Stargate Continue, like the last movie.
Oh.
Is
I
it the
don't know
one
if
where
she was
she appears as Katesh mostly?
yeah, that'd be
I'm not-
insane.
This is not confirmed. I'm just saying this because I felt like a lot of the shots in Continuum and like the way that her dress was very like, we're trying to hide her pregnant stomach. So I have like no behind the scenes like confirmation of that. I just remember when I watched Continuum, I was like, the way this is shot feels like they're trying to hide that she's pregnant. And this has like nothing to do with Vala, but like, I mean, whatever, you know, people were when they're pregnant, but I don't know, for some reason I just made me think of that. But maybe she wasn't pregnant and it was just the way that they were shooting it. I have no idea, but
That'd be insane. Because I mean, all of her like outfits in season 9 are like very like sexy, right? And like to think that like she like just looked that good while pregnant is like bow down to the queen. Like, I don't know, how'd you do that? I also, while we're on the topic really quick, I just wanted to give praise. I know we're actually gonna praise the writers really quick. I know, we get ready. I actually kind of like the Vala Adria pregnant thing. Considering Stargate is not very, it's not known for treating their pregnant like employees very well, right? Like, I think Sam was handled great because she just was like, bye, I'm leaving. Taylor was pretty bad, I think, to say the least. We have a lot of complaints about that storyline, which we will get to eventually. I don't mind. I think TJ's actually kind of worked and fit her character sometimes. And so I actually want to give them some praise, and I think they could have done something evil or just ignored it, but I actually kind of like that they gave her another family dynamic, and such an important one too, that ended up tying to like the entirety of season 10 plus the movies.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Adria is also like really, it's just like an interesting character because, okay, I'm blanking out, but so she names Adria after her stepmother Adria, I think.
Yeah.
And like, I think I mean, normally, I don't know if she says it explicitly or not, but normally, you name someone after someone because you really like that person. And I feel like, we know that her family life is not great. And so it's like, her stepmother, Adria, must have been like a good figure, like wholesome figure for her. And then I think she was hoping for that in her daughter, but then her daughter's a fucking Orsai and, evil as shit.
Well, okay, I think Ash wants to say what I want to say, so Ash, you can go ahead and say it.
No, you go. This is your topic.
Okay. I'm talking too much. But no, I was gonna say, well, funny that you mentioned that you bring up her stepmother and that she named her after her stepmother. Because in the episode, Daniel asks her, oh, so you named her, who'd you name her after? And she goes, my stepmother. And he goes like, what does he say? I forgot what he says. But basically she says, evil, witch of a woman. And Daniel goes, yeah, now I get it. But no. But I was going to say, but I feel like that makes sense, though, because we were literally talking earlier about how Daniel just sort of automatically assumes that, like, she is, like, I don't know, like, lying or whatever. But I feel like now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, maybe she was probably lying. I think her stepmother probably did mean something to her, right? At least a little bit. Or what do you guys think? Do you think she really named her after, like, a person she hated?
Yeah, I feel like that wouldn't make sense to, like, name... I mean, maybe in terms of, like, she, again, loss of bodily autonomy, like, she was forcibly impregnated. Well, not... Sort of, it's like a midichlorian kind of situation where she was suddenly pregnant, immaculate conception.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was at least no hardcore, whatever, I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on the podcast.
Oh, you can say whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck it. We don't care.
She was just pregnant. They didn't make it a whole, like, kind of evil, thing. It's like, I guess, like, if her stepmother was really someone that she hated, and, like, maybe she really hated this pregnancy and, like, named, her daughter after her, but I feel like that doesn't make sense. I feel like, her saying, like, oh, I hated my stepmother, she was a witch of a woman or something, like, maybe that's part of her trying to, like, be defensive and be like, no, this is a vulnerable part of me. I want to keep it to myself. But, like, I don't know how much of that is like, reaching, because I will admit that I have not rewatched those episodes recently. So, like, I couldn't, I knew that she had named Adria, like, after her stepmother, but I couldn't remember if we knew anything about their relationship.
I feel like she's kind of conflicted about Adria, maybe. I think it's just after she's born, like, Adria is taking away from her, just like, oh yeah, you're not going to see her daughter, which is cruel. And she wanted to see her and hold her and shit. So I think, like, there's a connection there, and she wants a connection to her daughter, but also, like, the way she was conceived and everything. And what she becomes so quickly as well. I guess it's very like she's very conflicted about whether or not she likes Adria actually, or like I did think it was funny that she was like, oh yeah, I named her after someone I hate, but you're right that it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was conflicted about her stepmother as well. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, the best lies have a bit of truth, right? So maybe her stepmom was a hard ass, but at the same time, she felt like a real connection with her. So who knows, right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, at some point, Val, I think it was her dad who, like, sold her into servitude, right?
Yeah.
Not the stepmother. So,
Well, I was gonna say, so interesting that I feel like I don't think we ever hear about her stepmother again. I think it's just that mention,
Yeah.
and we'd never really hear about her mom. She brings her up a little bit when she's like talking to her dad, and she says like, "Oh yeah, she got her accent from her mom." But like that's kind of the most we know about her, which is like really sad because I mean, I'm sure eventually they would have done like a we go to Vala's home planet and then probably like see her mom or like see like her ex-fiance or something. Maybe that would have been a really cool idea, but it is kind of sad that we don't get a lot of information about her mom or stepmom. We do
yeah,
get some about her
again,
dad though.
the women get thrown aside, and it's like, oh, you know, this Freudian idea that, like, a girl's most important familial relationship will be with her father. And it's like, okay, but then she names, like, she has a daughter who she names after her stepmother. She takes her accent from her mother. Clearly there are, like, ties to, like, the women in her family that are there that are just not explored. And it's like, okay, writers, are you just being misogynistic here, or did you just forget this thread? Or both?
Yeah, so the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Um,
that leads me to another question. Do you think that if SG1 went on longer with that team, so Cam, Vala, Teal'c, Daniel, and Sam, that audiences and the team through the writing would have more time to warm up to Vala, or do you think it would have always been the way it was?
I think, let me just jump off. I think they would have warmed up to her because I think it was sort of like a weird hazing ritual almost that just felt very unnecessary, right? There was like you have to be like we have to treat you like this before you can get, join SG1. And she only joins SG1 like she only gets the badge after she's been like fucking kidnapped and like her brain's been scrambled. And then that episode they're like, all right, you're part of SG1 now. Like, okay, you had to be like lobotomized, should be fucking anyways. And so that was crazy. But by the end, there's that really good scene of her and her dad, Sam in the episode with Family Ties with her dad, where like Sam comes to her with like wine and is like, "Are you okay?" And they drink wine together. So it's like those little scenes that like I think eventually they would have warmed up, and I think especially like in terms of Daniel, I think we would have seen him soften up a lot in season like 11, or maybe not a lot, but like they would have grown, I think, closer. I think the problem with SG1 too is I feel like they were very used to doing like these epic, okay, maybe not epic, but these like very long slow burns. And so I sort of feel like they were trying to do that with Daniel and Vala a little bit, but it was like, okay, you're not going to get another 10 seasons to do what you did with Sam Jack. And no offense, we don't want it to take 10 seasons. Like cut that shit in half. And so I think they would have warmed up to her. And I think, side note, I actually think Adria would have been redeemed.
Interesting.
Huh.
Do you have more to say on the topic? Because I think this is something that like has taken most of us aback.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I just think okay, so I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I think season 10, they have such an interesting relationship. But I think there's so many scenes where you can just kind of see like how difficult it is for both of them to be sort of on opposite sides. This is a crazy fucking scene. It's at the end of season 10, no, the first episode of season 10, I think, when Daniel rescues Vala from the Ori ship and they like beam back, and then they're in that bed, or Vala's in bed or whatever, and he's like, I should have killed Adria when I had the chance. A child, by the way. She's not yet grown out, Adria. And Sam's like, would have killed a child. And he's like, that's not a child. And then Vala just looks so heartbroken in this little bed, surrounded by all of them, as they're talking about, like, killing her child. Whatever. And then flash forward to the end of season 10. The really emotional, so many emotional moments. And that's when, Ball is implanted in Adria, which again, sorry, another side note, but, like, how crazy is it that, like, Vala's daughter was also, like, taken over by hosts against her will? Like, again, they have, like, a new shared trauma to sort of, like, bond over. Anyways, so Ball is inside Adria. Adria's in surgery. They get that scene where Vala's just really uncomfortable. She walks away. Daniel talks to her. And then they decide they are going to kill Adria in her sleep. And just that entire episode, you can just see how difficult it is for Vala. And everyone's like, even like Sam and like the team are like, you okay? Like, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, there's a scene where like Vala's like brushing her hair aside, kind of like saying goodbye. Adria wakes up and then the whole thing, she ascends and blah, blah, blah. But I think, I don't know, there's just so many little moments that I think maybe eventually in a season 11 or even like season 12, I think maybe they could have done something. And I think especially when you remember that like she is half human, I think, I hope, I mean, my headcanon is that Vala would have eventually gone to her and something would have happened. I see her either like sacrificing herself to sort of get rid of the aura side. No, she's the aura side. To get rid of the Ori. Or I see like the really happy ending where like they all manage to defeat the Ori and like she's just half human, half whatever, and she's just like chilling with Vala and Daniel in like their little apartment. But that's just like my ideal type of thing. But I don't know, I just think there was just like so much, like there was just too much emotion there for it to just be like, oh, you know, never mind, she's just evil, and then she like fights an ancient in Arc of Truth that disappears forever.
Yeah, I kind of forgot how they resolved her arc.
She just goes evil, like full evil.
Doesn't she ascend?
Yeah, she ascends, and then she's like, she gets all the power of the Ori, because it actually killed all the Ori, but then she like wasn't there, and then she ascended, and she got all the power, and then there's like the whole speech too in Arc of Truth, where I guess Vala had said like, oh, you're not my daughter anymore, whatever, and there's the scene where she's like, should I call you Vala now? Because, like, you know, you're not, you know, you told me I'm not your daughter. But then she still calls her mom within the next sentence. So, like, even, like, Adria can't really let go of that relationship.
Yeah, no, I think that's I think that's a good point, that is, like, a complicated relationship. And I think it definitely, if we'd had a couple more seasons, it would have been interesting to, like, dive into that. And going back to what you were saying about, like a sort of slow burn between Daniel and Vala, like we do see that in an ending, like the last episode of season 10, where they get together and everything. But then obviously it's sort of like, you know, they go back in time, and Teal'c is the only one who remembers. And I think Daniel asks Teal'c like, oh, did anything, you know, happen? And Teal'c is like, you know, I'm not going to say anything. And so I think that was sort of like foreshadowing that, you know, Daniel and Vala, we saw that they could be a couple, and that they were going to go back down that trajectory again. Then I guess in the two movies to wrap up Stargate, they were like, yeah, whatever. We don't have time to do this, so we're just gonna Arc of Truth continuum, where there this alternate reality, and Vala is Katesh, and Daniel loses a leg, and like do whatever.
Missed opportunity. Ugh, gosh.
Oh well.
I mean, we got the macaroon scene back, but we didn't get any like crumbs for Daniel. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was there. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've just been really into like the Vala Adria dynamic, especially recently, because I just hosted an Adria scene pack, so I had to go through those scenes. I think that's why I'm like super like I remember this. Like I have not rewatched season 10. Well, I think I rewatched it last year, so I had to collect scenes anyways. But like I swear it's been a few months. But because I was putting it all together, is like where I started remembering like all these little details. But I did want to say one last thing. There is a super cute moment in Unending, what Ty was mentioning, where they're all like just like goofing around in the gate room, and they're like sort of like saying like cheesy like what is it, like inspirational quotes, right? Like beauty's only skin deep, blah 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 blah. But there's that's top 10 I think favorite Daniel Vala moment where Vala goes, "Life is too short," and she repeats the phrase that they said in the alternate timeline. And I like to think that Teal told her, because you get the little look where Daniel looks over at her like he's stunned, like completely floored, like that she would say that, or like that phrase means something to him. And there's just a little look, and that's it for me. Like that's just like the perfect, like obviously I wish we could have gotten like a canon, like more canon ending in Arc of Truth and Continuum. But to be honest, like that, just that little look, I'm like, all right, yeah, they're married now. Like, fuck it, I don't care what you guys say. Like, that was it. That was confirmation for me.
I mean, it's kind of off topic. I did like the kind of open-ended ending of SG-1, because I kind of just want those characters to exist in my mind forever, like exploring.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of like that their relationship sort of was left on that note, because it kind of suggests that that's where it's gonna go. Like they have a future, right? But of course it's always nice to, be a little bit more confirmed at the same time.
Give us the kiss.
Yeah.
Well, we can cut this out, but I actually want to talk to you guys about this just while we're on topic. But I was gonna say, I think we're all on like Team Daniel, but what do you guys think about the Team Cam versus Team Daniel shipper thing going on?
That's a thing?
Well, not team per se, but you know, a lot of people that watch Farscape come into Stargate and just like ship Cam and Vala.
Right.
And like will absolutely fucking hate Daniel Vala, which to an extent is fair, but it's just funny to me that people are like divided on which guy. Like personally, throuple is the solution, but I want to know what you guys think.
True.
Yeah. I'm like Dan Vala, like primary. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I don't know that I like Cam and Vala as a relationship, like as a couple, and I don't know that I like Daniel and Cam as a couple. But I do like Daniel and Vala as a couple. But then I like Daniel, Vala, and Cam as a throuple.
Yeah.
So, like that's where my head's at with that. I think that's just what people should accept. They should accept the throuple into T3 into their heart and just, you know, become enlightened in that way. That it doesn't have to. Vala has two hands.
There you go.
You could handle two boyfriends.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's hard because I think it's hard for people who've watched Farscape first and then they like want to see more of those characters and then go in to watch SG-1 because they are not those characters on SG-1. Like they're very different. The show is very different. Like the style of writing is very different. So it's like completely different things. And while I do believe in my heart that Claudia and Ben will always have some form of chemistry, I think they really did a good job in channeling it in a different way in SG-1, where it seemed to me to be a lot more, like, less of this, like, destiny, like, romance, like, we're always meant to be, versus, like, a nice friendship, if that makes sense, or, like, a fun, like, banter-y stuff. Because, again, their characters are different on the show, so, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Cam and Vala's like friendship and their banter. Like I feel like Cam is kind of one of the only people who doesn't completely dismiss Vala like all the time the way the others do. Like, he's kind of more willing to put up with her shenanigans to an extent, and I like that dynamic. So yeah, I understand why people ship them, but I think, yeah, I mean, I've said what I think. You know, I've made it pretty clear that I'm team throuple.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love that episode when Vala goes home with Cam to his like high school reunion. That's so fun.
Oh my god, yeah!
That's so fun.
I was trying to figure out it's in the show, like they wrote the Vala Daniel thing in the show. Of course, you don't need like any evidence in like a show to like justify shipping. You don't have to justify shipping. You can ship whoever the fuck you want.
True.
But I was wondering where the Cam Vala was coming from, and then other like if people who didn't watch Farscape before SG1, if they shipped Cam Vala. But yeah, you're right. There's that episode. That is amazing. I forgot about that. Yeah. Also, I think for me personally, I don't think I should either of them like particularly. Like I can't say I'm a huge Dan Vala shipper. It's funny because I think like a while ago I think when I was rewatching the last season, I was messaging Sam. I was like, I know you ship them, but why? Because of what we talked about, that Daniel is so mean to her, like a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I think they're cute and I think they're funny, and I think like in future seasons there could be something there that's like not based on like one-sided hostility or something. But I don't ship Cam and Vala. I do love their friendship, and I think that's where I'm more at. Like, I love all her relationships with SG1 as that on like a platonic level. I can see it, but I can see both romantic and platonic. But I love her. Like, would love her friendship with Sam if they had cared to explore that a bit more. I do love her like very subtle friendship with Teal'c, because I think they have a bond. Because they're both aliens and all that stuff, and like they can make like fun about like the silly humans, and they have like this bond for some reason, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, they're very tactile. I noticed that Teal'c and Vala, like, she'll just climb up on him, and like she's not afraid to push him around and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, or isn't it even in when they're playing basketball and he lifts her up?
Yeah. Yeah, I love Teal'c and Vala. They're like so. I love their friendship. They're just like, they're like physical in a very like platonic, affectionate, like easy way. I think it's so great.
Yeah, I feel like with Daniel, it's more like I think that he thinks that she's kind of playing with his feelings a little bit and like lying about how much. Yeah. She likes him, and so there's like an insecurity element to it, so I am more forgiving because I feel like he just doesn't trust like the emotion. Yeah. But like it's not like an evil like ew thing. You know? It's more of a like, why would she like me sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean all of Daniel's like romantic relationships in SG1 end really poorly. Like there's
Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then so it's like sort of all of his like romantic like partners or whatever, like something bad always happens to them or something. And so I feel like part of him being mean to Vala is maybe, you know, like you were saying, Tor, like that insecurity. I mean, that doesn't like excuse it because it's like stop being a fucking asshole, like go to therapy about it. But I do think it's like that's maybe a little bit like where he's coming from of like, you know, and then like she does get taken like by the Ori, so to an extent he was right to not get attached to her. But it's also like, dude, open your heart to love.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, you mentioned like Sharae and then also Sarah, but also like Hathor, his sexual assault. Everyone like season 1,
Oh my God.
and the fact that it's always tied to like aliens too, right?
Oh,
It's also like a very
yeah, and then
weird
Shyla in Need, the way she was like,
yeah.
his addiction.
Oh my God, the princess.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alien princess got him hooked on this magic. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the thing. I feel like he keeps getting like assaulted by women, and to an extent, Vala, when she's in the shit, what is it, Call or Crow, like warrior suit in Prometheus Unbound, she like starts being kind of like, oh, I think you're attractive, and he's like, I don't like that. And then she like reveals that, you know, oh, she's a human woman, and so, you know, the dynamic is suddenly a little bit different. But I do feel like Daniel was like, well, I'm about to be sexualized by this like alien warrior, and like I think that is like not a great start to their relationship. It is weird that like Daniel keeps getting like sexually assaulted kind of throughout the show, like Hathor, Shyla, the beginning kind of with Vala, like a little bit, like you know, I don't super love that. I feel like also when he gets ascended, there's a little bit of like bodily autonomy issues with that.
Yeah.
And but that's the way he could relate, you know, he could relate to Vala with, you know, those those things.
If he wasn't an asshole, yeah. If he could like actually if they could like open up and like have an honest conversation, I feel like they would like just, you know, understand each other so much more and just like see what's up.
If they could deal with their issues. You know, I think, and like kind of talk about Sunflash, like you were saying, I mean, I think it was Ash was saying it, but I think Sam, you are also saying, I mean, I think like we all agree that like the relationship between Sam and Vala is like not what it could have been. And it's like, I'm so mad because the Sunflash potential there,
I know,
astronomical, and they squandered it.
Sad. See, but
like,
we can be delusional.
No, like, F in the fucking chat, please. Like,
no, seriously. Okay. Well, I think we've exhausted the Vala topic. We love talking about her, though. So this was definitely a rant about so many things. It was kind of everywhere, all over the place. But now, just to wrap up, we're going to quickly highlight our top 3 Vala episodes. I don't know if anyone's ready. I think we're all looking at like an episode list. But if anyone's ready, just jump in.
Okay. No, I'm not ready. I thought I was, but then I wasn't.
It's tough.
I'll jump in. I'm going to be very basic. Prometheus Unbound.
Iconic.
The Ties That Bind. And Bad Guy.
Ooh.
Nice.
I think, I mean, there are so many like good Vala moments, but I think top 3 episodes, those are my top 3 Vala episodes. I love her.
Wait, which one is Bad Guys?
Bad Guys is the one where they're at the museum on another planet, and they like have to pretend to be like rebel terrorists and whatever, and it's just like
I love that one.
Yeah.
That one's like maybe less Vala centric, but it's like her dynamic with the team is like really good in that episode.
Peak.
Okay. So I think we're all. This would be so funny if we all have Prometheus Unbound on our list. But yeah, Prometheus Unbound is definitely on my list. There you go. I think the next one would have to be Powers That Be, which is the season 9, episode 5. which is the episode where she goes back to that planet where she rolled over as gold, and they basically try to kill her because they find out she was not a real god. I love that episode so much. There's some really great Daniel moments, and I think there's just so much like emotion from Vala in that episode as well. And I think for season 10, it was really tough. Really, really, really tough. I think I'm gonna have to go basic though, and I think I'm gonna have to say Memento Mori.
Are you kidding me? My list is the exact same.
Oh my god!
This has ever happened. We agree wholeheartedly. This is crazy. I
That
love
is
it.
nuts.
I mean, taste. It's because who doesn't love Memento Mori? Vala is kidnapped and
Yeah.
her
You're so
brain is washed.
cute.
And
And
then
so good. And it's when she becomes like an official member of SG. Like, okay, Memento Mori is iconic. I guess like top 4.
exactly. And the team is so nice during that episode, and you get the best Daniel and Vala moment, which is
Yeah.
just come home,
Yeah.
stop running.
Yeah.
Like tears, the hug. Yeah,
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Again, so much emotion
Yeah.
from Vala, which is just
Yeah.
great. Even though she got her, like, yeah. I do love this. I think I was thinking of bringing this episode up earlier, but when we were talking about, like, her personality and, like, her, like, sometimes putting up a front. And, like, in this episode, like, everything is kind of stripped away from her, like, because, like, she loses her memory. But, like, I like what comes out from her character in that situation.
Real.
So yeah, my list was Prometheus Unbound, Memento Mori, and The Powers That Be.
Taste.
All right,
Yay.
for your
All right. I also want to say that her dress in Memento Mori, like that blue dress, oh, so cute. Okay. Anyway, so I also put Memento Mori on my list. So, and I also put bad guys on my list. And the one unique one
Wow.
that I put was Bounty, because that's when the episode with Cam goes back home for his high school reunion. And I know it's really a Cam episode, but I liked Vala in that episode so much. I liked her costuming. Yeah. I thought she was such a cute friend support to Cam. So yeah, that one too.
Yeah, solid. Very solid.
Nice. Very good list.
Iconic.
We all have such good taste.
Exactly. There's a consensus,
Yeah.
and great minds think alike. So,
There we go.
In the Vala cult. We're cool over here.
True.
Okay, and before we end, we really quickly wanted to do a Fic Rec Corner because I think there's so many great Vala fics and just Den Vala fics and just other ships in general. But I'll go first really quick because mine is a Dan Vala. The fic I have is called Break the Lock by UnabashedBird. And I've actually just been reading it. I'm not done yet. But it is 60,000 words, 14 chapters, and it is a post-season 10 burn. And when I tell you, my ass has been hooked. Okay, when I tell you, this is like the most like canon thing to me now. Because I just think the dialogue is so good. It sometimes just feels like these are the characters. They just like nail the accents. They get Vala's accent down. I can like see Cam saying this stuff sometimes.
oh my god.
I just think it's so perfect. And it has a demisexual Daniel and a gray romantic bisexual Vala. So
Ooh.
Love that. Love that.
so good. I have not finished it, but as of right now, like this is like my favorite Daniel Vala probably fic I've stumbled across.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, we'll definitely check
I think
that
we
out.
can head over. Yay! Let me know what you guys think if you guys read it. We can go over to Tor because Tor has some stuff for us.
Yeah, so of course, me being the Atlantis crazy person that I am, my recs are going to be rooted in Atlantis and Atlantis characters as well. So the first one that I wanted to recommend was Pirates and Thieves by the amazing Auburn. And this story, Vala is basically this cool spacefaring renegade with a slightly different John and Rodney as her, like, crew. Basically, they hijacked the Prometheus and go try to find Atlantis on their own while the normal Atlantis expedition is trying to go to Atlantis as well at the same time. So it's really cool reimagining of canon with Vala at the helm, and she's just amazing in this fic. I can't recommend it enough. And this might seem a little bit strange, but I thought it was an interesting one, so I just throw it out there anyway. There is a Vala John fic called Unexpected by enigmaticblue, and I just think there are aspects of their personality that is kind of similar in ways, and so basically John is asked to take over for Cam on as leader of SG-1 for a little bit, and yeah, it's an interesting exploration of these characters and what it would be like if John and Vala were on the same gate team. So yeah, check it out.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Honestly, John and Vala is looking like my little, not even ship. I just love seeing their interactions because they're my favorite characters. And I feel like, for me, they're like the hottest people. So I'm like,
Yeah.
together. Me.
Understandable.
And so anytime anyone gives me any sort of like Vala John crumbs, I'm like, yeah. So I've been in that tag. I see what you're putting down.
Good.
And then we have Ty over here to recommend or to put it out there in the universe.
Yeah, I guess I don't have, this is not so much a recommendation as it is a little plug. So for the last couple of years, I've been busy, but I promise it will be done. I've been working on a Dan Vala unending fic. So yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it sort of goes into Daniel's like insecurities with masculinity and also Vala's like experiences with having her like bodily autonomy violated and stuff. So, and it is probably going to be explicit. I cannot promise that. I'm still writing it, but at some point it will be out there. And when it is out there, check it out. My @ on AO3 is Caecilian.
Stay tuned.
Thank you for adding to the Femdom Vala.
Yeah,
We need it.
I'm here fighting the good fight.
Okay, actually, we have one more request or one more fic rec. I didn't know myself. I was going through my bookmarks and I was like, oh my god, wait. It's called the SGC Guide to Intergalactic Hookups, an Etiquette Manual, and it is by Bomber Queen 17. And it is Mick Shep and also unrequited Vala and Daniel. It is basically just John ranting and hanging out with Cam and Vala about Rodney and all of them bonding over lots of vodka.
Cute.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so cute.
Oh.
I guess I'm gonna have to like trawl through your bookmark.
Again, you can check out all these fics. They'll be linked below in the description show box, so you can grab whatever sounds interesting to you. And be sure to check out Ty's socials, which will be plugged as well.
Yes.
If you want to see what they're up to during the week. And you can also follow us on our private socials and also the Jumping Puddles accounts if you want to keep up to date with when we are dropping new episodes. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yay!
Bye!
Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks for having me on again.
Thanks for coming. You're the best guest, Ty.
I know. Woo!
Yeah.
We had fun.
All right, you clowns, listen up. I don't often get a chance to say this, so savor it. Good work, boys and girls. Let's go home.